Hey gumdrops! Yes, today you are not chocolate muffins, you are gumdrops for no particular reason. Cleo, Games Are for Fight here, and I'm gonna admit I was pretty naughty this weekend. Rather than work on my ever-increasing pile of work, I basically spent the whole weekend playing video games. Mostly I played the new Castlevania HD, I don't know how new it is actually, but the Castlevania HD release on the Xbox 360 because it was $2, and I've always kind of liked Castlevania, but I never owned any of the games. I just played them at other people's houses, which sounds kind of dirty. And that was pretty fun, although I don't understand why there's no local co-op, because I really like to play it with my mom, and that kind of sucks. But otherwise, that's fun. But the bulk of my time was spent on this new-ish game that I've heard was a cross between Skyrim and Dark Souls, Dragon's Dogma. And I decided it was time to do a first impressions. So I've played about 4 hours of this game in the last 2 days, and I haven't made that much progress. I'm just on my way to the Wirewood, I think it's called, the forest, which is pretty near the beginning. But it's an interesting game. It kind of feels like Darksiders in the sense that it's almost a mishmash. My ears popped in the middle of that. Of many different games all at once. The most prevalent feeling, I would have to say, is that of Demons/Dark Souls. Just the graphics and the controls really remind me of that, although you do use the face buttons and not the triggers to attack, and I kept finding myself hitting the triggers trying to attack instead of the face buttons, because it looks so much like Dark Souls. And also just the intro is kind of awkward. It's one of those games where they start you out as really really powerful, with like all these pawns and all the controls and everything as sort of a tutorial, and then they suddenly skip ahead and make you a neophyte again, so you have to do everything from the ground up. Although you do start out pretty much able to do everything that you can do anyway. I mean, you don't have all the skills yet, but all the controls and stuff are the same. But anyway, yeah, so it really feels like Dark Souls at the start, but then as you play, other games come into element. It doesn't really feel like Skyrim. I mean, the only ways that I would say it feels like Skyrim are that it's relatively open world, and you know, there's resources around you can pick up, you can gather lots of herbs, you can talk to pretty much everybody, and everyone has something to say. Some characters have more to say than others, obviously. And there's a fair amount of difference in the way people look, although there's like 6 voices in the game, and for some reason almost everybody that I talk to has the same voice, which I guess is a lot like Skyrim. But yeah, really it felt more like Monster Hunter Tri to me, which I only played maybe 10 hours of, a while ago. But it feels like Monster Hunter Tri. You can jump on giant monsters and climb up them, so I guess that'd be more like Shadow of the Colossus, except that there's nothing really obvious about what you can grab onto. The only big monsters I fought so far are a Chimera at the very beginning, a very odd-looking Chimera. They had the goat head on the back of the lion. Instead of like this, they had it like this, and then the snake tail spat acid. My understanding of Chimera is not dragon, serpent head, goat head, lion, you know, different order, and then a scorpion tail. But anyway, you know, it's a mythological beast. People can make it look like whatever they want to. But I fought that, and that was in the tutorial level, and that was where they taught you that, hey, you can jump on monsters and you can stab them, and it looks really cool, although it's a little bit awkward trying to climb them when they're like jumping around, and you're like, wait, no, stop, I'm trying to get to your sensitive part. And then I fought a Hydra, which I don't think I did that much damage. I think the pawns did everything. So pawns are like probably the most interesting thing about Dragon's Dogma, and I still don't quite understand exactly how they work, but basically, as you play the game, you make your own main pawn, and you can decide what they look like, from how tall they are, gender, face, hair, everything like that. And then you also control or decide which class they are, because you start out as the standard mage or thief, range guy, or sword person, but then you also pick their skills as they level up. But what's really interesting about pawns is that they are actually controlled by artificial intelligence, and you can kind of shape how they play the game. You can talk to them, and you can basically tell them, I want you to be more aggressive or more ranged or whatever. But what's really interesting is that according to all these wikis and interviews that I read, is the AI is actually fairly sophisticated, and it will learn how to play the game based off your own actions. So it can be as specific as like how often you use health items. You know, if you never use health items unless you're almost dead, then your pawn's going to do the same, which is actually kind of frustrating because the way health works, you can only restore a certain amount via magic. The rest you either have to rest in an inn or you have to take healing items. And you can give items to your pawn. Your pawn can hold as many items, you know, all the same items that you can, but you can't tell your pawn to use the items, and you can't use the items on your pawn. You have to wait for your pawn to use them, or you have to use a group heal, which are a little bit more rare, at least so far. And that's kind of frustrating because I kept running into this problem of my pawn having like this much health because I couldn't get her to use a health item. But you know, it's very interesting. And then, okay, so you have your main pawn, and then you can hire 2 additional pawns, and those pawns, if you're playing offline, you can access game-generated ones, but if you're playing online, you can't actually play with people, at least I don't think you can, but you can access their pawns, and you can search by, like, most popular, you can search by level, gender, class, whatever. You can't search by skill, apparently, but I don't know that much anyway about that stuff anyway. But it's very interesting because those pawns will be, their behavior will be dependent on who made them, and again, they'll learn from how you play. So when you hire a pawn, my own pawn, for instance, I kind of made her this little girl, little whatever, she's a mage, and my idea was sort of this like cute sidekick that follows me around and casts magic on me, because I picked the ranged thief dagger person, because I always pick that character. I'm not very different when I play adventure games like that. But anyway, and so my idea was that she was kind of timid, and she would like hang back and she would cast magic on me, blah blah blah. So I tried to pick other pawns that were different, and I picked this other mage who, like, I think her name was Leonetta or something like that, and she just like hurls magic like crazy. And then I picked this girl who's a lot like Aveline from Dragon Age 2. She's got the sword and shield, and she sort of charges into battle. And it's funny because my pawn, who I named Isai, she'll like hang back there and just cast healing magic on me and make my my daggers glow on fire, which is really cool. Whereas the other 2 are like, oh my god, bad guys, throw themselves in there. So I'm kind of in this rock and a hard place right now where the other 2 pawns keep running in there and getting killed, and when they get killed, they get knocked unconscious, and then you have a limited time to go save them. And I haven't had anyone die permanently yet. I've had them get pretty close. But it sucks because it's like either I hang back and I try to kill the guys and then hope that I have time to go get them, or I charge into the guys, you know, get them back up and then run out again. And unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be like a dodge option. I've been playing a little bit of Guild Wars 2 recently, again, because I made some new friends who play it and I'm trying to play with them, even though I don't really play in groups in MMOs, so I'm not really sure how to play with them. But anyway, one thing that's really nice about Guild Wars 2 is that you can dodge. And if there is a way to dodge in Dragon's Dogma, I have not found it yet. So I keep getting stuck. Like, one of the attacks that you can do is you stab multiple times and then you kick, and it takes a couple seconds to do, and I keep getting stuck doing it to a guy and then getting stabbed in the middle of the animation and dying. The game was pretty easy right up until where I got where I am, and now all of a sudden it's kicking my ass. And I think it's because I'm probably supposed to go back and level up in other places some more, but I don't like grinding. I like to just go to the hard areas and just, you know, flail at them until I persevere. That's my style. I am kind of reckless when I play games because I figure, you know, reality is for being safe. Games are for taking risks. But anyway, so yeah, Dragon's Dogma, it reminds me of Dark Souls, Demon Souls the most. Monster Hunter Tri / Shadow of the Colossus. It's a little bit like Skyrim. There's a couple of other games that it reminds me of, but I can't really think of them off the top of my head. But it doesn't, you know, I'm not like saying it reminds me of those games like, oh, it's ripping them off. It's just that's how I think of games. It's like, oh, that's like this game, that's like this game, and it makes it more accessible. One thing that's really kind of weird about the game is that there's very little explanation, I feel like, for overall stuff. I mean, there are a lot of tooltips that randomly pop up, and the pawns will like throw tips out all the time, and it's actually interesting because the pawns can be hired by other players to go adventure when you're not with them, which they can learn about an area and learn about a quest before you ever access it. So if a pawn has been with somebody that's done a quest and then you're doing the quest for the first time, your pawn can actually be like, hey, the solution is right there, which is almost a little bit annoying because there's no way to really control how much time passes before they suddenly tell you the solution. And as anyone who's watched any of my Let's Plays knows, I hate it when a game tells me the solution like as soon as I go up through the puzzle. Like that's one of the reasons I never finished LA Noire, is because as soon as I would be investigating a scene, it would be like, that's not a clue, that's not a clue. I'm like, let me look at it before you tell me it's not a clue. Tangent. But yeah, so, okay, so I guess the bottom line is Dragon Dogma, is Dragon's Dogma fun? Well, obviously, if I've been playing it for as many hours as I have, and I really want to play it more now, but I need to get work done. It's a little awkward, and the interface is not very user-friendly. There doesn't seem to be a quick bar for health items or anything like that, which kind of necessitates pausing and accessing it. I mean, like, even Skyrim has the freaking quick access bar, which is, you would think that if this game was inspired by Skyrim, they would have something like that. But it's interesting. It's more combat-y than Skyrim, because you have, like, different moves you can do. Though, again, I keep getting stuck in the moves and then dying, but maybe that's my fault for not leveling up in a different area. And the pawn thing is really fascinating. I don't know how complicated it actually turned out. I know that in the interviews they promised a lot, but I tend to not really put that much stock into interview answers about games, because as Peter Molyneux told us, or taught us, game developers like to make a lot of promises. But it does seem quite interesting. So anyway, yeah. So if you would like to trade pawns, I don't know if you can even do that. My Xbox Live tag is Bane space Raide. That's B-A-N-E space R-A-I-D-E. And we can exchange pawns, I guess? I don't know. My pawn's not that great because I haven't played the game that much. But, and I will do a proper review as soon as I have actually played significant portions of the game, which may or may not take a while because I have a lot of other stuff going on. But thanks for watching, and I hope you guys will check out the other videos. Last Saturday, I did my first Let's Watch Classic Movies with my friends. We watched The Godfather, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then look in the description of this video, and I will link to the video where I talk about the Let's Watch Classic Movies idea, and hopefully you can join us next time. We're probably going to do Breakfast at Tiffany's, although we might do a different video, or a different movie. Basically, the concept is my friends and I watch classic movies that I, and most of them, have never seen, like Godfather and Breakfast at Tiffany's, and like pretty much everything. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Like if you like, and leave a comment and tell me what you think about Dragon's Dogma, and if you haven't played Dragon's Dogma, tell me what you think of a game that's like Dark Souls, Skyrim, Shadow of the Colossus, Monster Hunter Tri, and little Dragon Age Origins too, I have to be honest. Actually more Dragon Age 2. It's kind of an amalgamation of all these games, but it's still its own thing. The name is weird. And I'll see you guys in this video.